This is a financial story of immense proportions. Manchester City have been charged by the Premier League with more than 100 alleged breaches of financial regulations after what's been a 4-year-long investigation. The Premier League announced it a short time ago. The club's been charged with breaching regulations over 14 seasons. Now, it's believed that if the charges are proved, it could lead to a whole range of sanctions, including a points deduction or even expulsion from the league. One man who is right across this story in this very building is the chief sports reporter for The Times, and he's Martyn Ziegler. Martyn, I know you are up to your eyes in it, but you've broken off to join us live on talkSPORT. Good morning to you. Martyn, how will Manchester City be reacting to this news?
Well, I presume they'll have known about it for some time, but that it's been coming. How they respond, I guess, is we wait to see. But I mean, yeah, there is no doubting the severity of this. This is nothing like this has ever happened, has it, in English football? Nothing like it. And I think if half of these 100+ charges are proved, then I think there will be, the other clubs will sort of expect that they're relegated. I can't really see any other. It's across 14 seasons, so 9 seasons of breaching financial regulations and 5 seasons of not cooperating with an investigation. I mean, it just doesn't get any more serious than this.
Wow, Mark, we all raised our eyebrows at that. Say that to me again. If half of the charges...
Well, I don't know. This is just my opinion.
That come to light show that they're guilty, they could be looking at relegation.
Well, I mean, I was just looking at the Premier League rule book, and the powers of the disciplinary commissions, and it says, W51.4.4, it can recommend that the league expels a respondent from membership. It's in the.
Martyn, for those listening this morning, now we'll get to Simon in a second because he's been very good at trying to put this in layman's terms. Now, of course, I'm a layman. We're all laymen. Laymen. Only a few of us know what the financial implication really of this might be. Can you tell us more specifically the nature of the charges?
So a lot of them is not providing the correct information about income and sponsorship income, not providing the true picture of players' pay, not providing the true position of the Roberto Mancini's pay during the 4 seasons he was manager. We know from the football leaks, leaked emails that we've seen, that Mancini apparently had a sort of shadow contract, secretly being paid by a club in Abu Dhabi at the same time he was being paid by Manchester City. In fact, he was paid more by the club in Abu Dhabi for 4 days' work than he was for Manchester City, according to the football leaks thing. So, those are the main areas here. I mean, obviously, it's a huge number of breaches.
And you're saying huge equals unprecedented. Should Manchester City fans be worried? Very worried?
Well, of course they should. I mean, I'm just trying to. There's nothing like this has happened before in Premier League history. Nothing like this has happened before. So,
I mean, Simon, when you listen to Martyn stressing what could the implication of this could truly be, you would think, yes, Martyn is right. They knew this is coming down the pipe. Yeah, sure.
I said that earlier on. Yeah.
But nonetheless, one would think there will be an enormous amount of nervousness within the walls of Manchester City this morning.
Well, they would have priced this into their thinking after the UEFA hearings, in terms of UEFA found them guilty of a variety of things. They then took it to CAS's obligations, and the time limits that CAS put on certain information being able to give to them were very different. And of course, their resources and the threat of them was always a big part of their arsenal. The most challenging one, I mean, Martyn has pretty much summed it up, about a lot of it's not necessarily prima facie not compliant with obligations. It's the failure to provide information behind their obligations that they have an obligation to provide. If you look at the rules in E3 and E4, they have to provide accounts at a certain date, but behind the accounts they have to provide the detail of why they made these assumptions. And E51 is the most compelling one. This is about the evaluation. This is the one that everyone knows that Man City have got challenges with. beyond. It's been doing the rounds in football. Martyn knows it, I know it, about how players are getting paid, how managers are getting paid, how there were shadow businesses behind this situation.
How were they doing it?
Well, the allegation, and I don't think the allegation is far from the tree, and the poison tree, of people being paid from one business rather than another. So they get a direct relationship with another business that's owned by Man City's funders and get money through that rather than through the football vehicle, so it doesn't hit the football vehicle's balance sheet. But E51 talks about the valuation of third-party sponsorship deals, and this is the one that was a sting in a tail about misrepresentation and the valuation of sponsorship deals, artificially valued, not to reflect market value, to be able to overcome obstacles. And E51 is the one that Man City will have real problems with, alongside the ones that Martyn alluded to. Now, the ramifications of this, and I don't know whether Martyn concurs with me, and it's not a conspiracy theory, I think it's joined up thinking. The timing of this is directly relational to the challenges that football have with the independent regulator and the white paper. And the problem for Man City is the appetite has gone up several notches now to take a bite out of someone's backside. Because if they do that, and someone as powerful as Man City, it'll show interested government parties and potential regulators that football can actually regulate itself.
Do you agree with Simon there, Martyn Ziegler, that the timing of this is hugely significant regards to white paper and what the government's doing this week?
That's crossed my mind, but I'm not convinced about that. Just because I've been sort of I've been expecting this for it was 18 months ago when a High Court judge expressed concern about the length of time the investigation was taken.
So why, Martyn, do you think it's taken so long? This is not a difficult case.
We've seen in the court case, it actually said that Manchester City were doing they've got Lord Panic, KC working with a really strong legal team, and they were trying every possible opportunity. They were trying to sort of slow the day, is how the Premier League described it in court. In that they were trying to they challenged going to an arbitration. They challenged handing over documents. Every step of the way. That I think that's why it has taken so long. I mean, I was actually expecting this to come out last summer. That was my expectation, but that never happened. It may, it is. I'm not saying it is good timing for the Premier League, but I'm not convinced it's actually the reason.
But I've never seen the Premier League have an appetite, knowing the personalities, knowing the Premier League. This, I think, would very unlikely have happened under Scudetto's watch. But I'm very surprised that they've gone for it in the fashion they've gone for it, because whilst the evidence is the evidence, and the appetite is part of it, to have an appetite to want to do this is half the battle. Because this isn't a difficult stone to overturn. The fact that Man City don't want to cooperate, in the end they'll have to cooperate. So it was always going to get to a destination. But the appetite from the Premier League has gone up several notches, and that's the thing that I question alongside the timing. And I think most conventional thinkers, and with all due respect, you may not necessarily be in that camp right now, are looking at the ideas and looking at lobbyists running around for the Premier League, pushing back against what's to come down with regulation. This would be an ideal solution, an antidote or kryptonite to some of the allegations that football refuses to clean its own house. Do you think, Martyn, that they can get into the territory of taking ownership models out of commission, taking directors out of commission, given the nature of some of these outcomes? If they stick, they are quite a damning situation over 10 years of repeat offences.
Well, I don't know.
Should be a natural conclusion, though, shouldn't it?
Well, it should be, maybe.
Well, they've not been found guilty yet.
If they're found guilty. I qualified it, yeah.
I mean, obviously, what Martyn's just saying about withholding information on income, withholding pay, information about players' wages, about Mancini's contract, shadow contract, so to speak.
Withholding or not providing.
So if they provide then this information, Man City, then one assumes then they clear their name. If they're just all they're guilty of at the moment is withholding information.
There's often a good reason why information is withheld, because the information that you provide won't help your case. So one would suggest that the reason why they haven't provided information is because they don't like the information they have to provide. So with that in mind, if they provide the information, I very much doubt it helps them.
Well, Martyn, the club we know has been charged with breaching regulations over 14 seasons. What kind of timescale do you think we are now talking about? I mean, a short time ago, Martyn, on the Twitter feed here at talkSPORT, I saw a number of Arsenal fans getting excited that City might be pretty sooner than later, be hit by points deduction, and that might pave the way towards them winning the Premier League title. We're not talking about the here and now, are we?
No, I mean, I've been trying to get some clarity on how long that would take. I mean, I don't think it's going to be 4 years, like the investigation. But, I mean, can it be done before the end of the season? I don't know, possibly. But then I guess there's appeals and things like that. So
Well, it's down to the Premier League's appetite, isn't it? The Premier League have set this hair running. They've done the investigation. They've come up with the conclusions. They set up the timeframes. It's now incumbent upon them, because it's within their gift now. It's within the gift of the framework of the rules of the game to start enforcing, and Man City to defend it. If Man City want to take it out of the rules of the game, then they'll have to do it after the judgments have come down.
Yeah, if you unpick all of this, if they are found guilty, I mean, as a former competitor, when you look over the years of the teams who've come second in the Premier League, teams, I mean, as a player, you feel cheated that you wouldn't. I mean, look at Liverpool in that head-to-head they've had in recent seasons. It's all been done then because of financial doping.
But you also have to say, with all
if
respect,
they're found guilty,
we also have to say, with all due respect to the brilliant work that Martyn's done here, where have the Premier League been? This has been going on since 2009. Every year you produce your statements. Every year you have questions about your statements. You have to answer an account to the board. Where have they been?
Yes.
They only started this investigation in 2018.
That's a fair point, Martyn Ziegler, is it not?
Well, where have they been, the Premier League? Well, I suppose they've been working on it, and you know.
Well, they would have known there was breaches in 2010, Martyn. They'd have known there was breaches in 2011. Man City got sanctioned in 2011 by UEFA. Everybody knew that there was allegations.
Nobody knew that you could argue nobody knew the full depth of anything until the Football Leaks thing revealed everything.
Yes, yeah.
And then you know.
Well, when were they sanctioned, Martyn? They were sanctioned by UEFA in 2011.
They were sanctioned by UEFA. I think it was a bit later than that, wasn't it?
Well, it's the 2011 season, but they were certainly sanctioned earlier than 4 years ago, because they had the consequences of that fine rescinded slightly because they got some of the money given back and their ban reduced, i.e., from signing players.
Well, yeah, but that wasn't for providing the wrong information. That was just for breaching the spending rules. Providing the wrong information. That
must have then applied to the Premier League, then, mustn't it?
Well, yeah, but I think this is about providing the wrong information for 9 seasons, and then not cooperating for the last 5 seasons. So I think that's the issue here, not the fact.
And the issue here is one of an unprecedented nature, Martyn, as you've been stressing. One would expect, Martyn Ziegler, that Manchester City at some stage today will come out with the most robust defence.
Well, I think they probably have to, don't they? I mean, just we'll defend it to the hilt or whatever. But if you just look at other, when I talked about relegation before, you look at other countries and these sorts of charges, that what's happened, and we haven't seen clubs being expelled from the league. So
can you imagine?
So that they have to come out fairly strongly, I think.
Yeah. Can you imagine, Martyn? And you journalists are quite imaginative at times. Can you imagine?
That was a compliment, Martyn.
It was a compliment, actually. It was meant to be a compliment. It wasn't meant to be facetious. Can you imagine what kind of defence, given the nature of the alleged breaches, what kind of defence Man City can put out there? Because they make the regular assumption that it's vendetta, there's xenophobia attached to it, there's the football cartel ganging up and trying to keep them out of the elite table. What do you think they can possibly come up with to suggest that 100 breaches plus over a 4-year investigation, can you find anything in your mind's eye that they might come up with?
Well, I suppose they might challenge whether stuff should be admissible if it's if it's been hacked illegally. That might be one.
The technicalities, yeah.
Should that be admissible? That they may claim that some of the stuff that just come, the information just from that source is sort of taken out of context and doesn't show the full picture.
Yeah.
Well,
many people are saying here, Martyn, what an excellent opportunity for the Premier League to further flex their muscle in this area. We shall see. Martyn Ziegler, I know you are so busy with this story. Thanks for taking time out. We'll let you return to it now. Martyn Ziegler is the chief sports reporter for The Times. And just to re-emphasise, Manchester City this morning charged by the Premier League with more than 100 alleged breaches of financial regulations after a 4-year investigation.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.